guys, it's Mary. Welcome to today's video where we're going to be trying our hand out and doing a professional face of makeup. Today's video is a bit of a twist. Usually I do shop my stash when I follow someone else's routine and just pull from what I have to achieve the look or the effect that they're going for. But in today's masterclass, I had quite a few Makeup by Mario products, and then I did during the Sephora sale pick up quite a few things by the brand so that I could really do this routine justice. Now, I do not have every single item that he uses, so for the things that I don't have, we will be supplementing, substituting, improvising. I'm always trying to come up with a word and it just never seems to come to me. It just never seems to work. If I need to write a new story, I always think of the perfect word at the perfect time. I didn't do the whole, do the intro after I've already done the full face of makeup. I kind of want to leave it like a surprise. I will be throwing one thing into this routine that he did not use, which is a color corrector, and that is because I recently shared on my channel that I got very sick and it left me with a bunch of hyperpigmentation spots on my face that I prefer to cover up for the time being. So I am going to add a little bit of a color corrector into the concealer that he uses today. I will pop a picture up right now of the look that he did on this beautiful model. Now she is stunning before he puts a drop of makeup on her face. He does say, he likes to do kind of looking as though you were born with it type makeup, a very natural makeup look, but it just, I couldn't get out of my mind. So I wanted to try to recreate it. Of course, I flat ironed my hair. So this morning it was raining like crazy and I had to run to the car to get a couple things. And if you know when you straighten your hair and you're a curly haired girl, rain is not your friend. It is not your friend. So the first thing that he starts out with is brows. He uses his own brow pencil from his line, and we're going to be using the Rare Beauty Deep Brown. This also does have a spoolie on one side, which is what he uses. Now, I do want to say that he mentions that he stays very light in the front of the brow because he likes to keep it as natural as possible there. And I have pretty full brows in the front. Now, they do have sparse areas, but as far as leaving them kind of with that just bushy natural look, I can't really do that. He does talk about how he likes to mainly go on the outer edge of the brow and kind of do a stronger tail, which I appreciate because that's where I am bald. And he does very light strokes, but he kind of shapes the tail out a little bit. And then I'm going to use the spoolie on the other side to keep things really natural and brushed out. So do we achieve like some natural brows? He talks about that shaping your eyebrows first, that he does that because sometimes if you do the eyebrows first, it helps you to kind of size up the face and know whether or not, if you need, you can go with less eye makeup, and that's why he tends to do it first. So it helps him judge what he's going to do next by how a person looks once they have their brows done. Next up, he's going to do something that has always been like the struggle bus for me, which is highlining in the upper eyelid area. He does use his own pencil, which I picked up in the Sephora sale. This is his pencil in the shade Perfect Brown. Brush on one side, which we're going to use in a bit to diffuse some of the liner that we do. But for now, we're going to tight line. His pencils do come with a sharpener, so I'm going to go ahead and sharpen it. Yeah, they do come. Each pencil with a sharpener. And I'm mentioning that because I almost threw mine away on the first one. I had heard people raving about this for many years before I picked it up. Master Pigment Pro pencil in Perfect Brown. And he does, I'm going to lift mine a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. I do appreciate that this is really creamy. And I feel like because it's so creamy, it does make this a little bit easier to do. Ooh, can we see a huge difference? I know that it's supposed to be subtle. It's like Born in Me makeup, but these little teeny details all added together is supposed to be why, it looks like professional makeup. We're going the distance today. We're gonna do everything that he does. So the same way that he said doing the brows first is gonna help you use less eye makeup when you do your eye makeup, he says the same thing about doing the eyes before the complexion. So doing your eye makeup before you do complexion makeup will maybe help you hold back a little bit on the complexion products. It's almost like, you know, he's got his full game plan going as he does throughout the makeup. I feel that. It's like he's playing chess with his makeup, you know, he's thinking 3 steps ahead, like my dad would say. And then he goes ahead and starts to line the top of the eye and shape the eye, as he calls it, like above the lash line. He's starting out in this outer corner right here. He doesn't do nearly as much as I just did right there. And then he flips it over. He uses the brush on the other side, flips it over, and just kind of feathers it out. Now, that does dry pretty quickly. Now, he doesn't seem to be doing a wing or anything like that, so I'm going to keep that tucked right to where the corner of my eye goes. I'm just going to smudge it out a little bit. Now he takes that eyeliner and he goes into the inner corner. Kind of carries that down into the inner corner like so. And then he starts to do the lower lash line. So we're going to do that as well and come all the way into that corner so that everything connects. He's using something like a professional, you know, he's got a, we're going to use something too. We're going to be professional today. He's using something to not tug on her eye. He's going in with the number 1. Now he is using, I have the neutrals, and I think he's using the original Master Mattes. I'm going to go in with the Nikki LaRose BK Beauty M13 and mix those two. And then he just literally is dusting this all over the eye. I think this is just so that the other shadows that we go in with have something to blend. He goes in, I'm going to use his blending brush. I'm not so sure what he's using, but I am going to use this because it's like he's like feathering out and kind of going up and out a little bit. And he uses like a warm toned brown. He uses 8 in his palette, but I feel like my 8 is a little bit deeper. So I'm going to mix my 8 with this one. He's talking about, you know, how you can always add more later, but you can't take away. So he starts out very, very soft. I'm going to start in the outer edge, and he is doing kind of like a lifting motion so that he ends up with her eyeshadow kind of going up towards the brow in a lifting motion. And he is literally dusting this all over. I will say I picked this brush up of his on the sale too, and this is a really nice brush. This is super soft. I feel like he has the majority of his color deposited right here and then a little bit on the inner corners there. So that's where I'm going to keep mine pretty heavy, and then I'm going to try to feather it out. He's taking a little bit of this one from the neutral palette, which is the one that we're using, and he's using that to connect things into the eyebrow. And he says that that's going to make things easier for later on. So we're going to listen to the man because he knows what he's talking about. He says that she already had some moisturizer on earlier, which I told you we did do our skincare and everything earlier, but he adds a little bit more because he says when we get to powder, he really wants it to have something to stick to. So I'm going to go ahead and add just a little bit of this, the Althea 345 Relief Cream. This just has a lot of nice things for your skin in it, and I was using some actives last night. So I want to be gentle and kind to my skin. Make sure my hands are as clean as possible. And then I'm going to go ahead and throw on a little bit more moisturizer. And I'm going to go very, very light with it. But he does add more, so we're going to add more. We are going to use the Mario foundation, which I did pick up during the Sephora sale. I have mine in the shade 16.5N, which looks like this. And I thought it was going to be a little dark for me, and I was like, ah. Then I put it on, and my daughter and my husband examine me, look at me. They swear that the shade match is good. We did it inside, outside, all the things. So we are going to also use the same brush that he's using. This is something that I had in my collection and I have loved for quite some time. This is the Mario F4 brush. It has like a big fluffy side and then a small side. He says he's going to start out with the small side, so that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to get a little bit of that into my brush. And he says he likes to start out like towards the nose and then feather it out as you go out, so we have less product on the perimeter of the face. I'm going to start near our nose. Now my face is a little bit lighter than my arms and my body and stuff, so I like that this is a little bit darker. I feel like it's going to help even things out. I am quite dark on my arms and whatnot. My face, I use sunscreen on every day, so I feel like that's why I'm a little bit lighter. I'm going to be totally honest. The first time that I tried this foundation, when I was looking at it indoors, when I saw myself in the mirror, I was like, And then I went outside and saw it in natural daylight, and I would say that's where it really shines. This foundation looks really, really pretty in natural daylight. And I am going to go down my neck a little bit. He does this as well. He stresses about how it's important that you don't have that, like, which years ago when I did my makeup, I'm sure I had all the time because I was so scared of doing anything on my neck. He does talk about like putting the coverage where you need it and keeping the foundation lighter everywhere else, especially on the forehead. He doesn't like to have a ton of foundation on the forehead. And then he does mention that for coverage, for blemishes, what he would do is go in with a little bit of concealer and then a little bit of translucent powder and then a little bit more concealer. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I'm not going to go for a flawless coverage today, but I do want to cover up a little bit more than is going on right now. So I am going to go in with the Mario concealer, the Mario Surreal Skin Concealer. I have mine in the shade 310, which is actually a little bit light because I got it for like a brightening for under eye. But we're going to use it for our face today to just do a little bit of coverage. And I'm going to add in a tad bit of the e.l.f. color corrector. I've been really enjoying this. I really, really love the Huda Beauty color corrector as well. I've been liking this e.l.f. one quite a bit, so I've been wanting to mess with it some more. I'm enjoying the tone, I believe, a little bit more than I enjoy the deep orange on the Huda sometimes. It kind of depends on what foundation I'm using and what's going on. The Sephora Pro Concealer 71 brush, I want to cover up a few of these puppies on the left side. Like I said, that concealer is a little bit light for this. I would usually go with something a little bit more my skin tone, but I want to use the Mario concealer. So now I am noticing that I just did this. I put my brush in there one time. I'm going all over the place. So that Mario concealer, a little bit goes a long way. And it is mixed with the e.l.f. color corrector. I would usually use a peach powder after I do any color correcting, but he says to go in with a translucent powder. So we're going to go in with a translucent powder. This is his Neutral Peach Soft Blur Setting Powder. It's like a translucent powder. This is the Mario Surreal Skin. I'm going to take a little bit of that, like something like this, like a big fluffy brush. And then I'm just going to get very quickly a light dusting of that. I liked this much more out in the sun when I saw the foundation, and then it grew on me. I do appreciate it. I am a powder girl, so I like it once it's powdered down. It's a very, like, it's like a luminous almost. Is luminous the right word? Sometimes I don't want to describe things incorrectly. I'm then going to go in and I'm going to go in with the fluffier end of the foundation brush. I'm going to use that fluffy side. I'm going to go in with just a touch more foundation and kind of touch that up, especially on my left-hand side, to get it back to the skin tone color. And I'm going to make sure that I really, really pounce this out so I don't get too much put on at one time. And then I'm just going to go over top of that. That we cover up that peach tone. Warm ourselves back up a little bit. And this is actually, I hope the sun is not washing me out, because it looks like in the camera like a little bit like it's washing me out. But this match on this is really, really good. I feel like my family did not steer me wrong. I thought they were crazy at first, and I was like, this is way off, but because it almost looks too olive in the bottle when I'm looking at it, it almost looks too olive, but it actually comes out perfect. He says he kind of like steers away from the hairline because the complexion is kind of naturally darker there, so we don't go a lot. I try to feather my foundation out very, very lightly around the edges, especially around my hairline. After that, he goes in with a beauty sponge, and I'm sorry, mine is a little dirty. He goes in with a beauty sponge and kind of picks up and blends in everything that we've done. And usually, you know, this is for like picking up excess product. He does also say that throughout this process, he'll always go back in with that beginning foundation brush and just use it to blend everything out. We're now going in for our under eye concealer, and we're going to go in with that same Mario 310, but I'm going to leave the color corrector out this time. And he goes in on the back of his hand, so that's what we're going to do too. And I'm using the Angie Hot and Flashy. He's using another Mario brush that I don't have. And he says to do the same thing, to keep very light layers of our concealer. And he goes the whole way under the eye. Usually when I do my concealer, I kind of avoid this under eye area, but he does the whole thing. He just says to do very light layers. So that's what we're going to do. And he also says particularly to not let a lot of concealer build up underneath your lashes. So I'm kind of staying away from going directly by my lash. I'm going to kind of not go all the way up. But as far as the concealer goes, we are layering very thinly. We're listening to directions. I have not put any more concealer on my hand. I'm being very careful and even spreading that concealer out a little bit more to my temple where we put the coverage earlier for our hyperpigmentation. Now, he does say that we can layer it up a little bit if we need to. What are we thinking? I'm going to let it be. You know, I was 27. I might do another layer of coverage, but I'm not 27. So we'll just let it go. So he does take a little bit of concealer and do a little bit on the chin, a little bit on the nose, and a tiny, tiny, tiny little bit on the forehead. I'm going to use my Rare Beauty concealer brush because it's a little bit smaller than this Angie Hot and Flashy. I'm going to put a little bit of that on the chin, which I also usually do, so I enjoy that we're getting to do that. And he did a little bit on the bridge of the nose, which I also do too. Be a lot carefuler and just put a tiny bit of this right here. I usually go up a lot higher. I'm just going to keep it concentrated and very much on the tip of the nose. I also usually put a little bit right here, but he's not doing that, so I'm not going to do that. Next up, he goes back to that same F4 brush, and he says depending on what he needs, he either just leaves it alone or he adds a little bit more product. He goes back out and blends everything out again to make sure everything's nice and seamless. So I'm going to do that too. Before he does any bronzing or anything like that, he likes to go in with a dusting of powder. So we're going to go back in with that Mario, and I have mine in the shade 3 Neutral Peach. He's doing just a light dusting of that. I'm going to use this BK Beauty N15 brush. So he starts out with like a fluffier brush and a little bit of powder and kind of lightly dusts a little bit of powder all over the face. So that's what we're going to do. And then he uses like something smaller. This is just an e.l.f. highlighting brush or setting brush or something like that I've had for a really long time. You get a little bit of powder, and he does that like under the eyes with a smaller brush. Does a dusting of that. He does have 2 shades of his powder, and I only have 1 shade of his powder. So I think he uses like shade 1 under the eye and shade 2 all over the face. And I only own shade 3 because I am a little bit deeper complected than the model. And this is really starting to come together. This is pretty. So we're gonna sit under our eyes, and then after that, he goes in with some more powder with a puff. I'm gonna grab this Sephora powder puff. He has like a Makeup by Mario powder puff, and he takes it and kind of curls it up a little bit like this, and he goes in with a little bit more powder. And I'm gonna like kind of swirl this a little bit in my lid. He says that he's doing this and putting this like with the puff strategically in places where he knows that we're gonna put that sculpting powder. He made the Makeup by Mario sculpting enhance thing. He made that to go over top of powders. Next up, he goes in with the Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. You can clearly see that mine is well loved. Oh, he goes in and he does kind of like all the usual suspects. We're gonna go in and he does a little bit of bronzing on the cheekbones. Here. A little bit on the temples. He also does a little bit down onto the jawline. That's what I really like about this Soft Sculpt Skin Enhancer. With this particular product, I like doing the jawline because I feel like it just blends out so naturally. For the most part with this step, he is doing a lot of what I would usually do. Yeah, I like that. He goes in with a fairly fluffy brush and a bit more dusting of the powder after that. Dust in a powder again. I love how subtle and natural that bronzer is. Like, you don't look all bronzed and tanned up if you don't want to. You just look like you get a little bit of dimension back to your face after putting foundation on. That's what I love about his bronzer. I think that's like my favorite cream bronzer of all time. There are some really pricey ones that I'm interested to try, but I just stay away from it, and I keep buying his over and over again, and I'm ready for a new one. I'm just gonna get the right shade and pay full price now. Next up, we're gonna go back into our Makeup by Mario, which, by the way, like, this white packaging, it's nice and it's matte and it's sleek and everything, but it gets so filthy. We're gonna go back into that number 8 shade, and he smokes out the lower lash line a little bit. And for this, I'm using the Nikki LaRose N12, and he just smokes out this lower lash line. He has a new clean F4 brush, and I don't have that, but I do have this that's kind of somewhat similar. It's like a fluffy e.l.f. airbrush brush, and he goes in with a powder bronzer to set everywhere else that we did that Soft Sculpt Skin Enhance. I'm going to go in with the RMS Beauty Enhance. And this is almost like a cream to powder, so I don't know if I'm cheating or not. It's a Hydra bronzer, but it's the one that I have in front of me. And he just sets everything that we already did so that it's going to last all day. What are we thinking of the look so far? He's going to go in with a little bit more of the bronzer to do a little bit of the nose. Down and married up into that area that we put our shadow. He goes in with some cream blush. I'm going to use Armani Rosy Peach. This was the most similar thing I felt like I had to that color that he had. This is much warmer. He had like more of a muted pink called Peony by his line. This e.l.f. liquid blush brush, and I'm going to take that blush a little bit on my hand and then mute it out on this. And he says that he just kind of marries it together with where all that Soft Sculpt Skin Enhance was. I feel like we're getting that same little pink, the little pink effect that he went with. I feel like we're getting it. We're getting it. For some reason, I do have a couple shades of this Armani liquid blush, and for some reason, this Rosy Peach one does seem to go a little bit patchy on me, and I don't understand why. It does do that. I do tend to have to like build it up and try to make it not patchy when I wear this shade. Should we go in a little bit, a little teeny bit more blush? Just a teeny bit. Just a teeny bit. Not a lot. No. Just a little bit more, you know. It's still gonna look like we were born in it, you know. We're just gonna look like we were born and Grandma pinched our cheeks right away. That's that. That's that for the blush. I think we're good on the blush. He went in with a little bit of powder blush in a shade called Mellow Mauve, and I do not have that by him, but I do have this NARS. This is the NARS Aura Ethereal palette, and it has this like pinky. So I'm gonna go in with mostly good blood, and then like that one. And we're gonna set that blush that we laid down. Oh, I think that's perfect. These NARS blushes are very, very, very pretty. I do tend to mix them a lot. I don't know if it's just because they're there in the palette. Next up, we're going to go in with a little bit of setting spray. And I do feel like we don't want to mattify this too much. We want to keep that kind of natural finish that he's going for with his foundation. So I'm going to go in with the LYS Natural Finish Skin Loyalty Blur. And then he says we're going to line our lips while our setting spray sinks in. So that's what we're going to do next. And he does do, which I'm going to brush up. I'm going to watch this deeply before I do this and brush up on my lip lift technique that he is doing. He is like kind of famous for his lip lift technique, the way that he puts lip liner on, and he will overline the lips at the Cupid's bow and then line them regularly everywhere else. That's what we're going to do. He's going to kind of like, we're going to kind of overline our Cupid's bow a little bit. And let me tell you something. I have big schmeckers, so I don't ever overline, but that's what we're going to do today. And then he stays like right within the lip line. Did I mention that this is his liner in Smoky Pink? Did I mention that? Did I say that? Which is actually the liner that he is using on her. Then the same thing on the bottom. He says, stay in your lip line like your natural lip line on the bottom. And then kind of on the bottom, when you get to this part, you're going to go a little lower. A little bit lower, and then into your normal lip line. We've been coloring the lines today. Teacher would not be proud. And then I'm going to go in and use the other side of that lip liner to blend it out a little bit. So he says that he goes in for like a mid-toned nude lipstick. He mentions 3 different colors or shades of the lipstick of his line. I picked up a different one. I was born in Bronx Community Hospital, so I think that that was kind of influencing my decision here a little bit. But I did think that I needed something deeper than the ones that he was showing. So I went in with Bronx Baby, which is like this, you know, kind of like that toned pinky nude. Because I really wanted to make sure that I got something that showed up on me. Look, it's very nice. And then he goes over top of that with like a nude toned gloss. And we're going to use ColourPop's Ultra Glossy Lip in Noble Steed. Donkey. Okay, what do we think it's so far? So I did do as instructed and go ahead and throw on some mascara. What do we think? I do think that this lip is a little bit deeper pink than I was going for. I was going for a little bit more nude. I'm going to take this off for a quick moment. If we go in just with the kind of nudie gloss that doesn't have as much of a pink undertone to it. Am I right? Stick with the nude. It's a little bit pinky toned to this. I really love everything. Now, let me give some really, really quick thoughts. Everything is really, really nice. The foundation has grown on me. I quite enjoy it. This is a little bit too pink toned for me. I really, really enjoy the Mario lip liner. It's very subtle because my lips are very pigmented, but I really, really like it. Subtle for me is good sometimes, and it goes like really, really well with this nude lip. Donkey! We like Donkey. And I love this blending brush. This blending brush is a winner. Love that as well. So we're going to keep the smoky pink. We're going to keep the perfect brown eyeliner. I already know this is a tried and true I've had for a very long time. And I will continue to love and adore the foundation. Like I said, has grown on me. And even though the color looks really olive and kind of green, it comes out pretty good. This concealer. I don't like this concealer under my eyes. I'm not a fan for it under the eyes, and it's not the shade. I don't mind that the shade is pretty brightening. It's that I have concealers that are much kinder to my under eye area. I just feel like this is creping and settling into my creases much more than I would like it to. And I love his powder. I've had that in my collection for quite some time. So the concealer, it's good everywhere but the under eyes. I'm very picky about concealer under my eyes. I just am. But I've had this Mario palette for a long time too. I do feel like some of the colors in here are redundant. I know. Like, don't hate me because people love and swear by these palettes. And I love it. I do really enjoy it and it's nice. I just feel like, we could have been a little bit more diverse. If you have a moment to let me know how you think I did down in the comments. How did I do? How did I do following Mario's masterclass? I feel like I would have done better if I had a concealer that was nicer to my 44-year-old under eyes. I feel like I would get a higher grade. But we get the overall picture. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to cheat and see if I can improve it a little bit. Because I don't know, that concealer just is not my best friend. So I'm going to go in with a tad bit of this Pat McGrath under eye setting powder. Just a touch. That does blur it a little bit. That does blur it a little bit and help out a little bit. And then I'm going to put some of this spray that I really, really like by Vanessa Myricks that is quite blurring. Why do I always have to be such a rebel? I'm always like doing everyone's routine and then altering it a little bit, but I don't know. I want to see what happens. I'm curious. I'm a curious individual. Okay, let's be honest. Look, I'm more blurred. Tell me I'm not more blurred. I still don't like the under eye concealer, but I am more blurred. Yeah, I am. I do have a giveaway coming up. So if you like giveaways and a wee channel like mine that's this small, you have a much bigger chance of winning than you have on a big channel. So I think that's a good thing too. That's like the odds are in your favor type deal. How did I do? If you have a quick moment to like, comment, or subscribe, I would truly, truly, truly be grateful. And I will see you in the next one. Or I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.